Hi guys, welcome back to the next episode of SamDjanShow. Today I'm looking through the history of the Flash movie, so let's get into it. Welcome back to the next episode of SamDjanShow, to pop culture. Today we're looking at the history of the Flash movie. Now, if you don't know, the Flash is from DC Comics, and for years, since the 80s, they've tried to get a Flash movie on the big screen, but there's sometimes, every time happens, setbacks happen, directors keep leaving, the script keeps changing, but we're finally getting a Flash movie that's coming in 2023, and so it's looking to reboot the DCU. So I'm going to go through the past on the history of the Flash movie, and I'm going to go through pretty much all the attempts they tried to make a Flash movie. So it's early attempts. Like, this was before the DCU. So the early attempts, this is everything before the DCU. And so yeah, development of a film based on the DC's comic character Flash began in the late 1980s when Warner Brothers Pictures hired comic book writer Jeff Loeb to write screenplay. Warner Brothers hired David S. Goyer to write, direct, and produce a new version of The Flash in December 2004. After he impressed them with his script for Batman Begins, Goyer approached Ryan Reynolds to portray Wally West after working with him on the Marvel Comics-based film Blade Trinity, and intended to have the character Barry in the Pit in a supporting role. Goyer was influenced by the film's tone by Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, and the Flash comic book runs by Mike Barron, Mark Waid, and Jeff Johns. By early February 2007, Goyer left the project due to creative differences with the studio, and Sean Levy was hired to direct and oversee the writing of a new draft by Chris Brancato, which used elements from Goyer's script. Later that month, Warner Bros. Announced the development of a Justice League film with Michelle Kieran Moroney writing the screenplay. George Miller signed on to direct, entitled Justice League Mortal, in September, with Adam Brody cast as the Flash. He envisioned that the start of a franchise would plan sequels and spin-offs, including the Flash film. Levy left the project in October 2007 due to scheduling conflicts with Night at the Museum of Battle Smithsonian. David Bobkin took over as director and began developing the film as a spin-off for Justice League Mortal, with a focus on Wally West. Craig Wright was writing a script for the film next month, before Justice League Mortal was cancelled and Warner Brothers said 2008 release for The Flash. Further development was delayed due to the 2007 to 2008 Writers Guild strike. Charles Roven joined the project as a producer by July 2009, with Jeff Johns consulting and writing a film treatment that Dan Mazzeo adapted into a screenplay. In October, Roven said the studio was not confident enough to take their take to greenlight the film, though Mazzeo disputed this and said the film was moving forward as planned. In June 2010, Green Lantern writers Greg Berlanti, Michael Green, Mark Guggenheim were hired to write a new treatment for the Flash based on a recent comic run by Johns that featured Barry Allen. Now this is where we get into the DC EU. So let's get into it. Warner Brothers was planning a new shared universe of films based on DC Comics by July 2013, and had tentative plans to release a Flash film in 2016. In October 2014, Warner Brothers and DC Films announced a slate of planned projects as a part of the new DC Extended Universe, DCEU. The Flash was set for a release on March 23, 2018, with Ezra Miller set to sign the film as Barry Allen. Miller first made cameo appearance in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad, starred in the team-up film Justice League, and briefly appeared in the Arrowverse crossover event Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he also appeared in Peacemaker as well, which acknowledged a wider DC multiverse. Warner Brothers offered James Wan to the choice of directing a movie about either Aquaman or Flash, and he ultimately chose to make Aquaman. By April 2015, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller were writing a story treatment for the Flash film, with the possibility of directing it. So this is where we get into Seth Grahame-Smith. After they decided to direct solo a Star Wars story, instead Seth Grahame-Smith entered negotiations to write and direct the film based on Lord and Miller's treatment. In October 2015, Grahame-Smith was set to make his director debut with the film, with Robin producing and Deborah and Zack Snyder executive producing. In February 2016, the film's release date was moved forward to March 16, 2018. Grahame-Smith left the project that April, citing creative differences. Warner Brothers chose to retain his script, and he was still expected to be involved in the project moving forward, while Lord and Miller were also still involved as producers. A search for a replacement director began immediately. And this is where we get to Rick Famuyiwa. Rick Famuyiwa was hired to take over as director in June 2016, with Warner Brothers feeling that Famuyiwa's vision for the film would both resonate with young audiences and also be compatible with Graham's Smith's existing script. Film was expected to begin later in 2016 and was not believed to be delayed by the director change. Famio Top's choice to portray the film's first female lead, Iris West, was Kirstie Clemens, who he had worked with on Dope. Rita Ora and Lucy Boynton were also in the running for the role, but the Clemens was cast as the character at the end of July. At that time, Warner Brothers gave the film's release date to Tomb Raider, leaving The Flash without a release date. In August, Ray Fisher was set to appear in the film, reprising his role as Victor and Cyborg from Batman vs. Superman Justice League. Famio completed revision of the script a month later, when Gal Gadot was set to reprise her role as Diana Prince Wonder Woman from Batman vs. Superman, Wonder Woman Justice League, and Billy Crudup was in negotiations to portray by his father, Henry Allen. Clemens and Crudup both filmed cameos for Justice League after being cast in the Flash. Pre-production began by October ahead of a film installment in March 2017, scheduled before another commitment that Miller had in July. At the end of October, Famio left the project after not being able to come together creatively with the studio, who agreed with more mature direction that Famio wanted to take the film. I did not know Wonder Woman was going to be in this movie. I knew Cyborg was going to be in this. Now, I don't know if this was going to be her origin story. When I read into this, I heard this was going to be a team-up movie with Flash and Cyborg, and it was going to be Heatwave and Captain Cold. They were going to be the villains. But I think Rick Famuyiwa's one would have been good. I hope Rick Famuyiwa has a future with James Gunn. I hope James Gunn gives him a project. He did The Mandalorian. I would want him to do another project. Maybe not a Flash, maybe something else. And then we go to John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein, which they were the latest directors at the time. Now went to John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein. The film was put on hold while the studio searched for a new director, and Miller prepared to film Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald to 2018. During that time, Warner Bros. Decided to take the film in a new direction, and in January 2017, Joby Harold was hired to do a page one rewrite of the script. He handled in a draft by May, when the studio's top choice to direct were Robert Zemeckis and Matthew Vaughn. Both had expressed interest in the project, but had potential scheduling issues that could prevent them from taking it on. Raimi, Mark Webb, and Jordan Peele had already turned down offers to direct the film, as did Ben Affleck, who portrayed Bruce Wayne Batman in previous DC film. At the July 2017 San Diego Comic-Con, the film was announced with the new title Flashpoint, based on a comic book of the same name, in which Alan travels back in time to save his mother's life and accidentally creates an alternate timeline. Dan Mazouz contributed to the script during this time. Jones confirmed in November that the Flashpoint concept would allow the film to tell a unique story about Batman, with the comic storyline exploring a timeline where Thomas Wayne is Batman. Jeffrey D. Morgan expressed interest in reprising as well as Thomas Wayne from Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. And in January 2018, the filmmaking duo John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein entered negotiations to write and direct the film, after the studio chose not to wait for Zemeckis' schedule to be free. Daly and Goldstein were confirmed as directors in March, and the film's title reverted to The Flash the next month. Filming was expected to begin in Atlanta in February 2019, but Miller's commitments to Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore delayed filming again. The film was aiming for a 2021 release at that point. In mid-March 2019, Miller was revealed to be writing a new version of the script, with comic book writer Grant Morrison. Miller disagreed with the lighthearted approach to the film that Daly and Goldstein were taking, that was Warner Brothers' preferred direction for it. The new script could be submitted to the studio by the end of the month, and if the studio did not like Miller and Morrison's take, there was potential for the actor to leave the film. Miller holding deal to start in the film was expected to end in May. Morrison later said that Miller had not been happy with the prior script and approached Morrison with their ideas, and the pair were given 2 weeks by Warner Bros. To write the script in Scotland. Morrison described their story as a Flash story, which he felt was a more serious science fiction story similar to Back to the Future, but said the studio wanted to explore the multiverse and other DC characters of the film instead. Morrison also denied reports that Miller wanted the film to have a dark tone, and said their script had dark aspects related to the Flashpoint story. The studio rejected Miller and Morrison's script in May, but asked Miller to remain as star of the film. Daly and Goldstein left the project in July, and Warner Brothers chose Christina Hodson. So let's get into. So this is my guest, Annie Shea. To be honest, I like John Francis Daly and like Jonathan Goldstein. They did Game Nights. They're also doing the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which will be out in 2 weeks. I'm kind of happy their approach didn't go ahead, because they were just going to do like a Back to the Future lighthearted. And I don't think it was going to be dark. I think he just wanted a story with more dark elements to it. So this is where we get into Andy Muschietti. which is the current director of The Flash, and he's remained on the project since then. And um, Daly and Goldstein left the project in July, and Warner Brothers chose Christina Hodson to write a screenplay for the film. After writing the DC film Birds of Prey, she also directed Batgirl as well. Andy Muschietti entered negotiations to direct the film, which he directed It Chapter 1 and 2, with his sister Barbara set to produce alongside Michael Disco. A January 2020 pre-production start was expected. The involvement of Andy Muschietti and Hodson was confirmed in November 2019, while filming was expected to begin in 2021. After Miller finished filming The Secrets of Dumbledore a month later, Warner Bros. Scheduled The Flash for a July 1st, 2022 release. Now it's pretty much now it's pretty much pre-production now. So Andy Muschietti said in January 2020 that the film would still adapt elements of the Flash comic book storyline, but the film would be telling a different version of that story. In April, the film's release was moved forward to June 3rd, 2022. When Warner Bros. Shifted their schedule due to the COVID-19 pandemic, that June, Michael Keaton entered early negotiations to reprise his role as Bruce Wayne Batman from Tim Burton's Batman and Batman Returns. Fisher discussed his role as Cyber in the film with Muschietti that month before Warner Bros. Set a 2-week shoot for Fisher to film what was referred to as a cameo alongside other Justice League actors. Fisher said the studio only offered him to pay him a fraction of his traditional salary for reprising his role. In August, Keaton was confirmed to appear in the film, and Affleck agreed to reprise his role of Batman. Muschietti explained that the film would be introducing the idea of the multiverse to general audiences by including multiple versions of the character, and urging past film franchises based on DC Comics as alternate universe. It was important for Muschietti to include Affleck in the film, since his version of Batman is the baseline for DC, and he felt the introduction of Keaton's Batman would not work as well without first seeing Flash's relationship with Affleck's Batman. Affleck chose to return after saying he had retired from the character because he would have a smaller role in the film. During the virtual DC fandom event, Explore the Multiverse, September 2020, Barbara Muschietti said the film would feature many characters from the DC universe, and Flash would serve as the bridge between them and their different timelines. She added that the film would be used to restart the continuity of the DC without regarding the events of the prior films. Crudup, who left the film due to changes in directors, entered negotiations to rejoin the project a month later. Clement's involvement was uncertain at the point. The film was pushed back to November 4, 2022 due to further pandemic-related delays, and filming was set to begin in March 2021 in London. Warner Brothers had written Cyborg out of the film by January 2021 after Fisher refused to work on any projects that DC Films president Walter was involved in. Fisher said this was due to Hamada handling of an investigation with the on-set behavior of Justice replacement Dr. Joss Whedon. The role of Cyborg was not expected to be recast. Andy and Barbara Muschietti arrived in the United Kingdom to prepare for production, with filming set to begin in April at Warner Brothers Studios, Leavesden. After the move finished on Secrets of Dumbledore in February, construction for sets at Leavesden Studios had begun. Crudup was confirmed to be returning, and Sasha Calle was cast as Supergirl. Calle was chosen from a group of more than 425 actors that also include Brenna Marquardt, which she will be in Blue Beetle. All auditions for the role, as well as chemistry tests with Miller, took place over Zoom. In March 2021, Clement signed a new deal to star as Iris West in the film after her role in Justice League was cut. Although the cameo was restored in 2021's director's cut, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Membra Verdi was cast to portray Baron's mom, Nora Allen, but Crudup was forced to drop out of the film due to scheduling conflicts with his series, The Warning Show. The role of Henry Allen was expected to be recast. At the end of March, Keaton said he had received an older version of the script but had not read it yet, and it would have read the latest draft before deciding if he could commit to it. He also cited the COVID-19 pandemic in United as a concern for his involvement, as well as balancing his other commitments. Shortly after, Ron Livingston was cast to replace Crudup as Henry Allen, with Ian Lowe cast as a young Barry Allen, and so is Monica Jackson and Ruby Mucaso joining an undisclosed role. Before filming began, Keaton was confirmed to be starring in the film, with Andy Muschietti believing Keaton's decision to join the Flash was due to the script that he had been sent. Muschietti said Keaton felt honored to play Batman again. The Muschiettис formed a production company, Double Dream, to co-produce the film, and Moran Jenkins referred as executive producer. Fisher said it would be a bummer if the situation surrounding his involvement in the film was not resolved. He said he would return to the role of Cyborg for the film if Warner Bros. Were making amends with him. And that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go through the post-production because you pretty much know. The movie will be out June 16th, 2023. Now, I'm looking forward to this movie because I'm a huge Flash fan. And this is the first Flash movie, and I'm looking forward to it. obviously people don't want to watch it because the whole thing with Ezra Miller. Look, Ezra Miller, the whole thing, he's getting help. I said for years, I said for a long time he needed help, and people were just kind of like making fun of it. Which I know that people don't like Ezra Miller. Even prior, before he did this stuff, people just didn't like it. They weren't fun of his Flash. I like all the Flashes. I like Grant Gustin, John Wesley Shipp. I like Ezra Miller. And I'm happy we finally get a movie to. He gets a movie to himself, and I would want him to continue. I don't think he will. I think we'll get. I think it's more likely we'll get a new Flash. If we're getting a new Superman, we're most likely going to get a new Flash. And I like Ezra Miller's role. I think he was really good. I think with a good script, he could be good. And so that's it. That's pretty much the history of the Flash movie. Finally, the Speedster, the Scarlet Speedster, is getting his feature film in 2023, in June 16th. So yeah. And yes, guys, so much for my video. I'll see you in my next thing. Bye.